Celebrity feuds often play out in the headlines on social media and in the court of public opinion. But every now and then, they have the potential to move into the actual courtroom. Today, we're unpacking the rising tension between entrepreneur and reality TV personality Angela Simmons and breakout rapper GloRilla, after allegations surfaced suggesting Simmons may be preparing to take legal action over statements she claims are false, harmful, and deeply damaging to her reputation. This story has layers, from the power of celebrity influence to the thin line between free speech and defamation, and the way social media can amplify drama into something far bigger than anyone originally intended. Buckle up, because we're going deep into this unfolding saga. To understand why this has blown up into such a big deal, we have to look at who Angela Simmons is and why her name carries weight in the entertainment and fashion industries. Angela Simmons is the daughter of Joseph Rev Run Simmons of the legendary hip-hop group Run DMC. But Angela didn't just rest on her family's legacy. She built her own brand. Over the years, she's made a name for herself as a businesswoman, designer, and media personality, starring in shows like Run's House and Growing Up Hip-Hop. She has also been active in fitness, wellness, and philanthropy, positioning herself as not just a celebrity, but a respected entrepreneur. For someone like Angela, reputation is more than just vanity. It's directly tied to her ability to maintain partnerships, expand her businesses, and secure media opportunities. When her name is associated with controversy, it's not just gossip. It can literally affect her livelihood. On the other side, we have GloRilla, one of the fastest rising stars in hip-hop. Known for her raw energy, unapologetic lyrics, and breakout hit FNF, Let's Go, GloRilla has carved out a lane in rap that resonates with millions of fans. She represents a new generation of artists, bold, outspoken, and deeply connected to social media culture. Unlike traditional celebrities who carefully manage their public image, GloRilla thrives on being authentic and unfiltered. That's part of her appeal, but it can also lead to controversy. In an era where a single live stream, podcast appearance, or social media post can ignite headlines, the risk of words being taken the wrong way, exaggerated, or weaponized is higher than ever. So what exactly happened to spark this conflict? Recently, statements attributed to GloRilla began circulating online, suggesting negative claims about Angela Simmons. While the exact wording of these comments has varied across reposts and shares, the general takeaway painted Angela in a questionable light. Simmons and her team, according to insiders, view these remarks as not just harmless gossip, but outright misinformation. In her view, this isn't simply a matter of someone having an opinion. It's a matter of falsehoods being spread publicly that risk tarnishing her personal and professional reputation. And that, in the world of media law, is where we enter the territory of defamation. Defamation, in legal terms, is when someone makes a false statement about another person that is presented as fact, published to a third party, and causes damage to that person's reputation. In the U.S., public figures like Angela Simmons face an even higher burden. They must prove that the statements were made with actual malice, meaning the person who said them either knew they were false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. This standard was established by the landmark Supreme Court case New York Times v. Sullivan. So if Angela were to pursue a defamation case against GloRilla, she'd need to show not just that the comments were wrong and harmful, but that they were spread with either intent or recklessness. That's not an easy standard to meet, but it's not impossible either, especially when comments are made publicly and quickly go viral. This is where the stakes get high. Angela Simmons has carefully built her brand over the years, a brand that stands on values of family, wellness, entrepreneurship, and positivity. To have her name dragged into controversy undermines all of that work. From her perspective, silence may not be an option. If damaging claims are allowed to float unchecked, not only does it affect how people perceive her personally, but it could influence potential investors, brand partners, and even television networks deciding who they want to work with. In other words, for Angela Simmons, fighting back isn't just about pride. It's about protecting her empire. According to reports, Yo Gotti recently arranged a private meeting with Angela Simmons, not as her boyfriend, but as a mediator trying to prevent the situation from spiraling further. During this meeting, he allegedly made a direct request that Angela reconsider filing a defamation case against GloRilla. Gotti is said to have acknowledged her frustration and validated her feelings, but also reminded her of the ripple effects such a lawsuit could have. From his perspective, moving forward with legal action would not only put GloRilla's young career at risk, but also drag their personal relationship into the spotlight of a public courtroom drama. For Gotti, who prides himself on being both a savvy businessman and a supportive partner, this situation is about finding balance, protecting the woman he loves while also safeguarding the future of one of his biggest artists. Yo Gotti's role here can't be understated. As someone who has built a multi-million-dollar empire in music and business, he understands better than most how fragile public image can be. He also knows that in the entertainment industry, perception is power. If Angela goes forward with a lawsuit, the headlines won't just say Angela Simmons sues GloRilla. They'll inevitably connect Yo Gotti to both sides of the story, raising uncomfortable questions about conflict of interest, loyalty, and business ethics. That kind of narrative could hurt everyone involved. By stepping in personally, Gotti is attempting to shield both his personal life and his business from unnecessary destruction, while hopefully guiding the two women toward a less destructive resolution. But the big question remains, will Angela Simmons listen? Angela has spent years proving that she is not someone who can be pushed around. She is fiercely independent, deeply protective of her brand, and committed to maintaining her integrity. From her perspective, if false information is being spread about her, she has every right to defend herself, even if that means taking the matter to court. For Angela, this isn't just about silencing gossip. It's about protecting her legacy, her family name, and her businesses from being tarnished by reckless statements. So while Yo Gotti's request is undoubtedly heartfelt and strategic, Angela ultimately has to weigh her options carefully. Preserve peace in her personal relationship by pulling back, or stand firm on principle and risk creating waves that could reach far beyond her immediate circle. Meanwhile, fans have been quick to weigh in on the drama. On one side, some supporters applaud Yo Gotti for stepping in, calling him a real leader for trying to mediate the situation before it explodes. They argue that he's showing maturity, wisdom, and loyalty to both Angela and GloRilla. On the other side, critics believe it's unfair for Angela to be asked to step back when her reputation is at stake. They argue that love and business shouldn't be mixed, and that Angela has every right to take legal action if she feels she's been defamed. The debates have spilled across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, with hashtags trending and fan bases clashing over what should happen next. As always in celebrity culture, the public has become both spectator and judge, dissecting every move in real time. From a legal standpoint, Angela's decision could also set a precedent. If she chooses to file a defamation lawsuit, it would once again highlight how words, even those spoken casually in interviews or online, can have lasting consequences in the digital age. It would also serve as a warning to artists and influencers that authenticity doesn't absolve accountability. However, if she decides against legal action, perhaps due to Yo Gotti's intervention, it could reinforce the idea that personal relationships and private resolutions carry more weight than public courtroom battles. Either way, the outcome will shape not just the reputations of Angela Simmons and GloRilla, but also the perception of Yo Gotti as a partner, businessman, and mediator. It's also worth considering what resolution might look like if Angela decides not to pursue legal action. Could GloRilla issue a public apology or clarification? Would Angela and GloRilla meet privately to resolve their differences away from the cameras? Or would the matter simply fade into the background as new headlines emerge in the ever-changing cycle of celebrity news? Each path comes with its own implications. An apology could restore Angela's image and put the matter to rest, but it might also be seen as an admission on GloRilla's part. Silence, on the other hand, might leave lingering questions, but it could also prevent further escalation. In the end, this situation is about more than just Angela Simmons and GloRilla. It's about the delicate intersection of personal life and professional business, the power of reputation in the age of social media, and the role of loyalty when those worlds collide. Yo Gotti's decision to step in directly shows how seriously he takes both his relationship with Angela and his responsibility to GloRilla. But no matter how persuasive he may be, the final decision rests with Angela Simmons. Will she prioritize her reputation above all else, or will she trust Yo Gotti's judgment and choose peace over the courtroom? That's the million-dollar question. And until we get an official word, the speculation isn't going anywhere. Legal experts often say that defamation suits serve two purposes. First, they attempt to repair the damage done to a person's reputation. Second, they act as a deterrent, sending a message that spreading false claims comes with consequences. If Simmons does move forward, her team may be signaling to the industry that she's willing to stand up for her name and won't tolerate being disrespected publicly. At the same time, Cases like this are tricky, especially when both individuals involved are celebrities with large fan bases. Lawsuits can backfire, drawing even more attention to the controversy, and sometimes extending the drama far longer than it would have lasted otherwise. Then there's the fan reaction. Social media has been buzzing with discussions, memes, and debates over whether Simmons is justified in considering legal action, or if this is just another case of celebrity drama being blown out of proportion. Some fans argue that celebrities should be able to take criticism, especially when living in the public eye. Others insist that spreading false information crosses a line, and that public figures shouldn't have to suffer damage to their reputations because of reckless words. As always, the comment sections are divided, with some fans backing Simmons' right to defend her image and others siding with GloRilla's no-filter, say-what-you-feel style of expression. What's undeniable is the speed at which stories like this spread. A single offhand remark can be reposted, remixed, and reshared thousands of times in a matter of hours. Once it's out there, even if later clarified or corrected, the damage may already be done. That's the reality of our hyper-connected world, where social media can turn a spark into a wildfire overnight. And for celebrities like Angela Simmons, who depend on maintaining a polished public image, it creates a constant battle to separate truth from rumor. If Simmons does move forward with a lawsuit, the process could play out in several stages. First, her legal team would likely issue a cease and desist letter demanding that GloRilla retract the statements and refrain from making similar remarks in the future. If that fails, the next step would be formally filing a complaint in court. From there, both sides would present evidence, including any recordings, transcripts, or social media posts. GloRilla's defense might argue that her statements were opinion rather than fact, or that Simmons cannot prove actual damage. On the other hand, Simmons' attorneys would likely highlight the reach of GloRilla's platform, the spread of the comments online, and the measurable harm caused to Simmons' reputation and business ventures. These types of cases rarely resolve quickly. They can drag on for months, even years, and often end in settlements rather than full trials. The implications of this case would go beyond just Angela Simmons and GloRilla. It would serve as yet another example of how words spoken in the digital age carry real consequences. Celebrities are no longer just entertainers. They are brands, businesses, and public figures whose every move is scrutinized. What might once have been a private dispute can now instantly become a public spectacle with millions watching, commenting, and sharing. And with reputations, endorsements, and careers on the line, it's no wonder that defamation lawsuits have become increasingly common in the entertainment industry. So, where does this leave us? Angela Simmons stands at a crossroads. Either let the comments slide and hope the storm dies down, or take a bold legal step to protect her name, knowing that doing so could open the door to months of headlines and courtroom drama. GloRilla, meanwhile, faces the question of whether her unfiltered style, which fans love her for, could also become her biggest liability if not handled carefully. For now, nothing is official, but the possibility of a defamation case looms large, and fans on both sides are watching closely. One thing is clear: in today's media environment, words matter. And when those words have the power to damage reputations, the law is never far behind. We'll be keeping an eye on this developing story. Do you think Angela Simmons has a strong case, or will this end up as just another flash-in-the-pan celebrity feud? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories in entertainment, law, and pop culture.